Okay, I'm going to try and show you how I make Almond Rocca. I've got room temperature butter in here. It doesn't have to be room temperature. And I'm setting my stove at, it has a 10-point scale. I'm setting it at just beyond 5, like just a little tiny bit over 5, which would be medium heat. And I'm gonna melt the butter first. I found that if I melt the butter first, the sugar melts into the butter much better. There's no chance of it getting lumps in it, and there's no chance of it starting to cook before the butter is completely melted. So I just wait for the butter to melt. I've got a thermometer set up. It's an instant read thermometer, and I've got it set up so that by the time the toffee starts to bubble up, the toffee will be on the probe, but the probe is not touching the pan. And I've got my sugar, 2 pounds of sugar. I use cane sugar, C&H cane sugar, which is 2 cups is 15 ounces. I've used other kinds of sugar that work just fine as well. This is just what I happen to have. Okay, so the butter's melting. My pan is also all set up with roasted almonds that I cut pretty fine. I use a nut grinder. This is the nut grinder I use, and I fill up the hopper twice. Once covers the bottom of the pan, fill up the hopper again, grind it again, that fills up the bottom. All told, it's about 2 cups of nuts, maybe a little shy of that. So that stuff is all ready to go. Hot pads are all ready to go. I don't want to have to search for anything. I want to just pay attention to what's going on in the pan. So the butter is just about melted. Probably melted enough for me to start adding the sugar, but I'll be patient. Just moving it around a little. I also have to make sure, sometimes I don't get my pan centered over my burner. My pan is a cast iron Dutch oven. I've been using it forever. It's a real old pan, but I think any cast iron or heavy duty Dutch oven would work. Okay, my butter is all melted. I'm going to add the sugar and just stir it around in there so it starts dissolving in the butter. And my thermometer right now says that the temperature of the butter and sugar so far is 154 degrees. I am shooting for 325. Just by accident, it seems like it works to take it to 325. I used to just guess when it was done by the color of the toffee. That works too. But now that I have this technology to help me out, it takes a little bit of the guessing out of it. At this stage of the game, I'm not doing much stirring. I'm just keeping the mixture moving a little bit. The sugar is gradually dissolving into the butter. When it starts getting completely dissolved, that's when it starts foaming up, when it's completely dissolved and the temperature's really going up. Until then, You don't have to stir it a whole lot. You just kind of keep it moving. My mom used to make this candy every Christmas, and I learned how to make it from her. And I think she learned how to make it from my grandmother, but I don't know which grandmother, because I think they both started making it. Now you can see it's beginning to boil, it's beginning to bubble. See, it's bubbling. I'm going to start stirring it a little bit more now. The temperature is at 201, about 200, varies a little bit. Don't want to stir so hard that I splash myself. Hot butter and sugar is no fun. Two 215 degrees. Most of the butter is incorporated into the sugar, not quite all. I like using a wooden spoon for this. I always use a wooden spoon in this pan. I don't know if it makes a difference, but it might. Sugar is touchy stuff. Okay, it's 230, and now you can see it's really beginning to foam up. I'm kind of getting this foam off the side of the pan. This, I think, is my 6th batch this Christmas season, and I've had 2 batches where right at this point, or shortly after this, the butter and the sugar has started to separate. And when that happens for me, I found the best way I can save it is to turn the heat off immediately and get my wire whisk and beat it really hard until it goes together again, and then I turn the heat back up to medium. I never get it more than medium until it's the right color. Okay, it's about 250 degrees now. It's looking really nice and creamy, so God willing, it's going to turn out okay. It's beginning to color just a little bit. When it really starts to color, when it really starts to turn to caramel, the foam goes down. Keep it moving, keep it moving. Pull the foam down from the edges. Getting a little toasty around the edges, so it's turning into toffee. $265. You can see the foam is really beginning to subside, starting to color. Seems like if it's going to break, this is the time when it breaks. So far, so good. Everything's looking great so far. $278, $280. Tired hands. Getting a nice toasty brown color. It's a little tan. $293. 309. It's almost done. It's nice and creamy looking. It's getting darker. As this gets closer to being done, it gets stiffer, and that pushes the thermometer aside as I stir. So it's tricky to stir over in that corner. 320. Almost there. Well, I'm not sure it's 320. The thermometer is getting jostled, but I'm paying attention to the color. I don't care so much about what the thermometer says. I'm paying attention to the color. Okay, the thermometer says it's done. I'm liking it just a little bit darker than this, so I'm gonna let it go. Take the thermometer out. Is it done yet? Is it done yet? I don't know. Maybe. Could be. Looks good. I'm going to call it done. Turn the burner off. Gotta put my spoon down. Then I have to scooch it into the corners really fast while it's still nice and fluid. It helps to have another person around to help you pour it and spread it. It's easier to do it with two people than it is with one, but I've done this solo all season. Okay, this is a big pan, so it doesn't quite get to the corners, but that's close enough. Spread it with chocolate, let the chocolate melt, and add more nuts on top. Another thing I do is I save the, I'm using chocolate chips this time because I couldn't find any big chocolate bars. I save the almonds that come off of the top and reuse them on future batches. So I'm just going to let these chocolate chips melt before I try to spread them, and then sprinkle the almonds on the top. This is 8 ounces of chocolate. 8 ounces seems like a good amount. So there you are.